Before we get started with this episode, I wanted to share with you that earlier this year, we started doing more of our podcasts as video podcasts. All of our audio and video episodes are available on our YouTube page. We'd love it if you'd check it out. And please, while you're there, be sure to subscribe to our channel. This way you get notified of new videos and new episodes that are posted. You can also find all of our videos on our website at mokenasfrontporch.com or by searching Mokena's Front Porch on YouTube. Matt and I hope you enjoy this episode, and please be sure to share our podcast with a friend.
Shane won't be here on the first day of school to see it, but being able to kind of leave this, have this project done, and have it in a better place, when I move on, it is gratifying to know that this will be something that the kids will enjoy in the future, and I'm glad to have been a part of it.
I would hope people would remember how the community came together over those 5 days. I mean, it was a much longer process, but over the 5 days, everybody came together and built something for our kids.
I would drive past there years later, and I go, wait, I gotta show you something. And I would drive over, and I'm like, see that playground? We built, the community built that. Like, it wasn't we hired a company. Like, we all, hammers and nails and saws, like, we built that. And I was so proud to drive anybody who was in from out of town. I would drive them over to see the Playscape because I was so proud. It was a really cool thing.
So this episode is all about the wooden playscape that was at MES up until this summer, Mokena Elementary School. And as part of this episode, we got to talk to Dr. Cohen, who walked around the park with me and talked about the process of getting it to where it is now.
Yeah.
Also got to talk to Robin Madden, who was the originator of the idea for the playscape, and talk about how that happened, as well as the other people that were involved with that process. Dr. Cohen invited us to the opening of the time capsule. Unfortunately, Matt wasn't able to make it.
I was not able to make it, yeah.
But I was, and that was a really cool process. And there I got to talk again to Robin, as well as Cindy Lindblom, who was one of the other two of the three ladies from the PTA at the time that were major pushers. They got the project going.
Yeah, all well-known names of people. If you're a Mokenian of any kind of standing, or maybe if you had kids that went to the Mokena schools, you probably will recognize these names.
The school had just recently posted a picture of the paved lot, the paved play area for the kids, but we haven't seen it since the playground and stuff has been gone. So
yeah, me neither.
Matt and I thought it'd be a good idea to come up here as a good way to start this episode, as well as kind of bring it to an end with seeing, somewhat the final product of all the years of planning and the hard decisions. I'm sure, this is an emotional thing for a lot of people.
It was,
in town.
Definitely for me it was.
Hopefully it's not too dark for us, but
wow, I still expect it to be there. Looks so empty.
Yeah.
Oh wow, this is
So half of this, about half of this lot was part of the playground before.
Yeah. Oh man.
All right, Matt, we're trying to make the most of our limited light here. But as we said, we're in the parking lot here, and it really is about half of this lot now was part of the wooden playscape before.
It definitely was.
So it definitely has a different feeling. And then you see the hardscape over there, and they have it'll be fenced around there. And that's, I think they're going to have basketball courts and foursquare, things like that on the hard space for the 5th and 6th graders.
Yeah.
And then they put a new playground around the back, a little more secure and tucked away for the kids there. So
Huh.
this, though, here they wanted more teacher parking. So
Okay.
that's what kind of this area makes up for, and they're not taking up the
Yeah.
space over there. But enough of the technical stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously we want to know what's going on. Oh, also they did the Willowcrest Drive, which hard to see, but it runs behind over here. They redid that whole road, fixed the drainage, and put a sidewalk in, so it's a little safer for people to walk
Yeah.
there.
No,
So
definitely.
all good stuff. But Matt, you were around. Do you remember
Yes,
during
indeed I
when
was.
this was built?
I do very well, yeah.
So maybe share a little bit of your memories.
Yeah, well, it was a huge deal. It was probably one of the most exciting things that ever happened at school that I can remember of. Although when the Playscape opened, it was right after I had graduated, if you want to call it that, 5th grade. So I was leaving MES and about to go to what was then the junior high. So I guess I technically wasn't an MES student anymore, but all throughout my 5th grade year, it was something that was very hyped up. It was the construction of it was very hyped up, was very talked up. It was one of the things I remember really well about it was the fact that there was lots of community spirit and fundraising going on about it. There was some sort of contest I can remember between the different classes, at least in my year, about who could donate or bring in the most money. And I can't remember how much my class got, but we got a decent amount of money. Another thing that was really cool was in that same time frame, I think this was another money raising action, if I remember right, but there was a thing where you could buy a tile that was would eventually be built into a long wall that was probably about this high or so, that stood right in front of the Playscape. And you could put your handprint on a tile, and like draw a little picture and paint on it, and then do like a little quote or something on it. And a lot of kids did this. I forget how much one tile cost, if I ever even knew to begin with.
Yeah.
But I remember going in the summer that year, the summer the Playscape opened, going into the, on like a Saturday or something, going to the cafeteria at MES to make my tile. And I thought that was really cool. And I was so heartbroken when they demoed that wall because it was vandalized so bad. I know by 2009 it was gone, so it was a little before then. So it was there
and
for
Dr.
maybe
Cohen
10
had only 3 tiles left, so he did bring those out.
Oh,
we'll
really?
see for the time capsule opening. We were able to see
cool.
the 3 that were remaining.
Oh,
but
cool.
it is-
I didn't know any remained.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it was horrible. But that was a big part of it. I remember that. It was cool. Like a few years later, just to come whenever I happen to be here and look at the wall and find my tile and find my friend's tiles, because tons of people did it. That was a really cool part. And I remember how excited I was when the first big pallets of lumber started to get here for the Playscape. They weren't right up here at first. They were further behind Willowcrest. I mean, it wasn't Willowcrest anymore, but we all still called it Willowcrest over here. And that was really cool. Oh, and I also, all the memories are coming back to me now. I remember hearing that right when the whole thing was first being planned, I don't know if this was ever a serious plan or not, or if this was just a rumor, but the scuttlebutt around the school had it that the Playscape was going to be like a pirate ship theme.
Okay.
And we were really excited about that. Of course, that never happened, but we still loved it just the way it was. I don't think anybody was disappointed. It was pretty cool.
So do you remember when they did the opening, like the opening of the playground?
You know, I don't really remember the opening because I think I was out of town when that happened. I think that happened in the summer at the time of our family vacation every year, because I distinctly remember we were gone for the building of it, in which like everybody was here helping with that. So I think I missed the opening too, because I don't remember, because I feel like I probably would have been at that.
Yeah.
So I don't remember that, but it was big news, and it was like a star attraction in town when it was brand new. I still remember playing here with my friends, and that new lumber smell permeating the air, that was there for a really long time. And
How about growing up then, at the years after? Like, what did this place mean to you through the years?
it was just a cool place that kind of stuck out in my head about a certain period of my life. Definitely a childhood. And I always liked, even like if I was at the library, you could kind of peek over here and see the skyline of the Playscape sticking out. And I always liked seeing it just because it brought me back to that time. I mean, it was so 97, because that's when it happened, and it was kind of like frozen in time for me for that. And I remember coming to that last hurrah or whatever that event was that they had, and that sense of what it was like back then and the memories of when it opened, all that stuff was still very tangible.
Yeah.
So it's I'm sorry that it's gone.
It was neat to see still after all these years how much emotion there was still for it.
Oh yeah.
With, Robin and Cindy, the people that built it, along with all the people that have played on it and brought their kids here and brought grandkids now here. And, it's a space that will still be a play area, but it, will never be the same as it was then.
No, definitely not.
And just the fact of what an awesome community event that was.
Right. It was. I can't think of anything since then that has matched it.
Yeah, and as we'll hear in the episode, just every civic organization, every church and, a group that you can think of was involved in it, and excited to be a part of it, and here to put the work in. So, it's kind of wild to stand here now after seeing it and through the process, but really happy that the school let us be a part of that, and that Dr. Cohen was so open to sharing things with us, from pictures and newspaper articles and all of that. It's just been awesome. We're excited to share this episode with the community and hope it kind of lives as a lasting memorial of an amazing community effort by Mokena back in the late 90s.
Weird to say back in the late 90s, but yeah, it's like...
One of the things I thought was neat before we wrap, you'll see in the time capsule opening, we found the yearbook from that year, the teachers were quick to find the picture of young Matt Gale.
Yeah, I was in that yearbook. Yep.
Pretty cool.
Yep.
Good. Anything else? Any other thoughts you have on the playground?
Just knowing that the memories will always live on, and I was glad to have been here in Mokena in the same time that the Playscape existed. So
I agree. Yeah. And I wasn't here for many of the years it was here, but we had a lot of good times bringing my son here, his friends, our nephews. So it'll always hold a special place in our heart as well. So hope you enjoy this episode and you'll share it with somebody else that enjoyed this awesome Playscape.
I never had the chance to meet Lori Hermanson, who was one of the original 3 parents who spearheaded this project for the PTA back in 1997. Robin Madden, I actually had her daughter in class when I was a high school teacher. And then I had a chance to meet Sydney Lindblom. And I know my predecessor, Dr. White, had Leathers come out and do an assessment of the playground. And then COVID hit and everything kind of sat for a little bit. So I had Leathers come back out and do an assessment on the playground and what needed to be done. And, being 27 years old, the wood has obviously seen some better days, and they recommended replacing a lot of it should we decide to fix up the Playscape. But the biggest concern were all of the wood pylons that go into the ground. They're wood, they've been seeing mulch and all the moisture for nearly 30 years. And a complete refresh of the Playscape, the estimate would have been $350,000. And that would have been, using some volunteer labor, and probably would have gotten us they estimated 5 to 8 years based on the old wood piling. So it just didn't make a lot of financial sense to go with a playground with maintaining it and putting a lot of money into it, just because the bones itself have a finite lifespan. So
And they gave a lifespan when they built the project, right?
They did. 25 years is what they guarantee, is pretty much what they estimate, and we had them come out and do the assessment at about 26 years, and so we figured that it was about time. They came out and dug around the base of all the pilings and looked at the condition below the mulch. And we had some that have heaved over the years. You can see where some of the areas aren't level anymore, and so it was fundamentally that we weren't going to get the return on investment if we went ahead and fixed it. The other thing to consider too is that in this evolution of when this was built, this was Mokena Elementary School in Willowcrest, and this was Mokena Junior High.
Okay.
And so grades 6, 7, and 8 over here didn't require a play area. Well, now it houses 4th and 5th graders, and they don't have an area to play, especially one that is, they use the grass when the weather's nice, but when the weather is inclement, they're in the parking lot. And it's less than ideal from the perspective of safety and cars driving through there and whatnot. So when we considered, and this building also has 4 playgrounds. We have the wooden Playscape, we have the central playground, we have the preschool playground, and then we have the seascape on the far south side by the kindergarten. And the mulch alone for all these playgrounds, maintaining 4 of them. One of my first summers here, we spent $50,000 to mulch 2 playgrounds.
Wow. And this is a lot of square footage to cover in mulch.
Yeah, this is a little over 10,000 square feet.
Wow.
And so when we decided to look at options, there are some other issues, interesting parts of this location. It is built on the hill. We have water that kind of flows from northwest to southeast. We've had some drainage issues here by the building. There was some there was some site work done here by door over here that to put in a drain that would come out here to the corner where the Playscape was. There was one time I came out here, I'm wondering, well, where's the drain at? There's got to be one. And we followed a concrete curb to a drain that was just buried in mulch and dirt and all that. And we dug it up, and to get it moving again. But there's some water challenges here to this site. So when we had the architect come out and look at it to get a lay of the land, and the engineer just if we do something here, what can we do with site improvement? We looked at replacing this with a similar structure, with a leather structure or some other playground. We looked at maybe doing a rubber safety surface instead of mulch, so that way we'd have a one-time cost instead of having to maintain. You can see how weeds grow and all that stuff that have to be maintained. And eventually we had the discussion about this building. I thought, well, maybe if we recaptured one of these ball fields, we could put an area in over here for the Mokena intermediate students to play. But then after noodling around and talking with different people, we thought, well, we have this playground for our elementary students that's right by a street. It's right by a parking lot. It's not an ideal world or an ideal setup, especially for little kiddos. We don't want them to elope and disappear.
Sure. There's a lot of area to cover kids potentially leaving the park here,
Where the central playground is surrounded on 3 sides by building, it's a lot easier to maintain and to monitor for our recess staff. So proposed several different options to the board back in 2021, and they approved the expansion of the central playground. This footprint for this playground is about 10,000 square feet. The new playground over there is 14,000 square feet. And what we tried to do with the new playground, there was some existing equipment there that had some primary colors of yellow, green, and blue. We added 2 big pieces of equipment, and the one on the closest to the Playscape is all wood tones and wood colors, and it's got the wooden tops to the different platforms. The one in the middle has got a little bit of a mix. It's got the wooden tops to the platforms, but it's got the red, green, and blue color in it. So it's kind of an homage to the Playscape in the design of the new central playground, to carry on some of that, some of the heritage of this, what this project was back in 1997. And then eventually, from about the middle of these slides all the way to Mokena Intermediate School will be a paved play surface for these students, because watching them come out of recess, they play a lot of competitive games, a lot of kicking a soccer ball around, throwing a football around. We'll have a basketball hoop, gaga ball. We've talked about tetherball. So, but there'll also be areas for them to sit and gather. The older students like to sit down sometimes and just talk, and just hang out. So there'll be a shelter with benches and tables.
And that'll go from MIS, you said, all the way up to
about where these slides are. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, it's going to be 170 feet by 140 feet. We're going to stripe in a 1/3 size football field,
cool.
Soccer field, so that with hash marks. And I know they have some temporary soccer goals over there that'll fit perfectly on the field. It'll be off the parking lot. We're going to improve Willowcrest too. The asphalt's seen better days. We're going to actually put a sidewalk in and curbs all the way along, so that way people walking are walking on the road with cars, trying to weave around them. And then a lot of drainage improvements. So most of this asphalt's coming out. There'll be some drainage improvements done just to the north here of this wing, and because all that paved play surface, the water has to run somewhere.
Yeah.
So.
We're kind of in the memorial area here with a lot of the organizations and groups that were involved back when this was built. What is the intention with these?
We're going to save them. If anybody would like to take their blocks back, we've already had some inquiries about that. But it's our intent before we return them to any of their owners to memorialize them, just to catalog all the different donors that were part of this project. Yeah. We do have a lot of artifacts from the Playscape construction, a lot of photos. We have the Governor's Hometown Award that was given to the PTA and the volunteers that built it back in 1997 by Governor Edgar. So we'll be kind of building an area in there to memorialize all of the inside the elementary school, kind of memorialize this playground and the efforts that were put in. I mean, just the photos from that area, what a project. Yeah. What an absolute project. 5 straight days, 12, 14-hour shifts, of people coming in and really they had lights rigged up on all of these different posts so they could work at night, and all this was just lumber. None of this came pre-cut. So everybody was out here cutting and sanding and staining, and
the picture, and thank you for sharing some of those. That was great. The tent set up with feeding food for everybody. Mm-hmm. They had childcare. Mm-hmm. I talked to Chief Howard Stevens. Mm-hmm. He talked about how the fire department put in every one of those telephone poles, that mm-hmm. make it up around. Mm-hmm. I can't think of a more community event that mm-hmm. you could point to that's lasted this long either.
Yeah, it really was something else. But it just kind of goes to show with the amount of care that people have for their school and for their community when you undertake a project like this.
Now, this will be out and gone by the time this comes out, but can you show us where the time capsule is put?
Sure. The time capsule is right here at the base of this slide. We'll be taking that out next week, and looking forward to, we probably won't open it up right away. I want to try and get a hold of Robin Madden and Cindy Lindblom. They've expressed an interest in coming out and being a part of it, but they buried it underneath this slide, so we'll be taking our time to make sure I'm really curious to see what's in there. I'm excited about that.
How has the message passed down over the years of where the time capsule is hidden?
Well, when I reached out to Robin Madden and engaged them in the work, I'll even go back 2 years ago when we started looking at the playground assessment. We invited Robin and Cindy to come out and actually be here with the representative from Leathers and a couple of our board members at the time to kind of ask about the project. I didn't want to do anything out here without at least consulting with those people who put in all that time, But it was at that time they told me about the time capsule, and Robin was able to give me a lot of those old photos.
Oh, that's great. And then the area beyond the teachers' parking is going to be expanded, is that right?
Yeah, we're going to have to do some site work anyway with some of the drainage that's going to be going on. Digging this up here. Over here at the corner of the building, we have water that kind of pools there. So in doing all of that, and knowing that all this is going to come out instead of replacing with just grass, the majority of our staff in this building actually works right here in this north wing. We have first, second, third grade and our self program. So given the fact there's so many staff here, this lot fills up first in the morning and then people park in the front. Well, if you've been here at arrival and dismissal, you know how busy it is with, families that park and wait for the doors to open at 8:30. So we're going to add about 30 parking spots over here to get some of those staff vehicles out of the front lot, clear up room for parents, hopefully make things a little easier in the mornings as well.
So that the hardscape is going to end about here. Where will the parking begin?
It's going to come up maybe almost halfway into this space.
Okay.
And then there'll be some degree of separation. I have yet to see the we've got some drawings, but I know there's going to be a sidewalk that kind of separates the sidewalk that goes around the parking lot and some curbs, and then there'll be a barrier between that and the new play area.
And then, so is this where you're talking about the sidewalk would be along the Willowcrest here?
Yeah, we have all the river rock that kind of pops out, and sometimes you'll see people walking on that when there's cars going back and forth. Just digging that out and then replacing all the asphalt, basically from the light pole all the way down to the curb, or to the curve over here.
Okay.
Replacing that, and then sidewalk here on this side of it, so people can walk from one building to the other without. Because we have a lot of kids that will leave at Mokena Intermediate School at the end of the day and come down and wait for their younger siblings here.
Yeah.
And right now, they kind of drift through the space, but since we're going to be putting up this play area, and there'll be some fencing around it to keep the students sort of in one area, they'll need somewhere safe to travel to get through the parking lot.
So when this was presented to the community, obviously there were a lot of emotions. People put time, and the kids have talked for the last 20 years. That from kids to adults, have been on this playground. So how did you deal with the community response? Were people hoping it'd be kept, or what did you deal with?
The community response by and large has been, I think most people I talk to, they understand that wood has a finite lifespan.
Yeah.
And then when we talked about, the replacement of this playground, the fact that it's kind of moved around the building, and we're going to use this area for play for the intermediate school, makes logical sense, but there's certainly a lot of emotion and a lot of memories that were built here. I mean, I remember when I first started in the district, Jake Smith, my technology director, remembered playing on it when he was a student here. But when we first did the drawings, or got to get our first concepts for the new play area, it was always the priority to get that project done first. I went back and shared those with some of those original PTA leaders from way back when, and I would say got their blessing, but I wanted their input. And students, much like many of the features here were chosen by students back in the day. That's what Leathers does, is they engage students and have them select, what do you want? Like, what are some of the features? We did that with the new playground, where we had, I think 20 different options for pieces of equipment, and then kids had a chance to vote for different pieces of equipment that would go in. And so we tried to model a lot of that same process that was used to build this playground and building that one. But no, the folks that heard, like, we're expanding the parking lot, like, wait a minute, you're taking down the Playscape for a parking lot. But really the biggest driver was having a play area for Mokena Intermediate School. Because again, when this project, the Playscape, was done, grades 6, 7, and 8 were in that building. The district was configured differently.
Yeah.
So. And
talk a little bit about the bell. And the housing was put here, I think, in the 80s?
Yes, that was done in, I want to say, 1983 or 1984. The only original piece to that bell is the bell itself. Even the bracket that holds the bell was made back in, it was a replica built in the 80s. When the bell was originally kind of found and discovered, given back to the district, I believe the superintendent at the time was Ray Garitano. And they had put it in a display case inside of the junior high, which is now MIS, and that was 1978. But then in the early 80s, the bell tower was constructed. It was built by our own staff. There was a light pole there, which is gone now, with the copper roof and all that. So it's there, and where the plaque is, the plaque that kind of memorializes it there on the front. We had that wonderful recording from Mamie Beckstein-Miller when this was rededicated, and there was a wonderful ceremony to dedicate that. So now it's going to be finding another home for it, and we've got some options.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure it's displayed publicly. You know, the bell itself being solid brass, it's, you know, it wears the weather really, really well.
Yeah.
And so finding the next home for that is going to be, you know, we want to have it a place of prominence, most likely in front of Mokena Elementary School. But we'll be working on that in the near future.
That's great. No, it's great to keep that. It's such a neat, you know, piece of history that's kind of tucked away back here, but tying, you know, us to the earliest days of our school district here. So it's really great. It's still on display. I hope that continues in whatever form in the future. So
Yeah.
Anything else that you know about the Playscape that you know you wanted to address, or?
Well, we're going to be taking some parts off it before ultimately we start moving any earth. You know, some of the wood we'll try and preserve, but definitely some of the more interesting play components. These two, for example, platform tops right here. The one you can see has got that little ribbon on it. That's a Hershey's Kiss.
Okay.
And that one
I didn't realize that.
It was actually painted red back in the day. It was silver with the red with the label as Hershey's Kiss, and then that one was made to resemble a gumdrop, and it was painted. That one was painted red. So
that's cool.
It was silver and then red, and so, you can see all the other pieces of candy, you know, that were on this side. We're going to be pulling as much of that off to preserve it as possible. We've even, you know, we had some interest in people who were either a part of the project or people who would like to have, you don't want to see these things go to waste.
Yeah.
And so we've even discussed maybe allowing, you know, putting these things to the side and then having the PTA at the Fall Fling, PTA and Foundation, offering these items up for auction for folks who want to have some of those items, maybe for putting on their own child's playground at home.
Yeah.
And we may
That's
also save some of them as artifacts as well from our history.
And like you said, this is going to be fenced off in the next couple of days,
starting the Tuesday after Memorial Day.
Okay. And then what's the process from there?
We're going to have about a week. We're going to send out our crew to, you know, our maintenance and summer helpers to come out and just start taking artifacts off, labeling them, and saving them. And then once we've gotten everything off we think is salvageable, that's in decent condition, you know, then we have a lot of earth to move starting that next week, that first full week in June. This entire hill needs to be leveled out. We need to remove that asphalt road that connects the two buildings. Most of that asphalt over there has to come out. We need to start digging digging for the drainage trench, or basically the water detention area that's going to be on the north side of that wing here by MES. And so there's just a lot of civil work that's going to get started here pretty soon. It'll also involve closing off the road between, you know, Willowcrest here. So from 195th Street to Wolf, sometimes people cut through. That'll be inaccessible as they grind this down and pave the road.
And that'll start just after Memorial Day as well.
Yep.
Wow. Well, it's, you know, I mean, it's neat to see. I walked through here and I imagine what it felt like on those 5 days of building this, you know, amazing structure.
Yeah. It really is. I mean, the kids still love it. All these years later, the thousands and thousands of kids that played on this from the efforts of, you know, those members of the community. And to think that there were over 1,700 volunteer shifts.
That's wild.
You know, the model at the time was 4-hour volunteer shifts, and there were 1,700 of them. You know, and obviously there were some people that worked many, you know, probably put in 12 shifts that week, you know, 12 to 15 shifts. Maybe we're here all day. But it really is something. You see what you can do when the community comes together.
Now, you know, also by the time this comes out, you'll be gone at your new school, and I think among everything else, this is you know, part of probably what hopefully our district will remember you in this major change. But how do you want, you know, the community to remember your time as superintendent here?
You know, it's when I first was hired in the district, and this was one of those projects that, because it was so tied to the community and so emotional, I want to see people are afraid to touch it. People are very concerned, like, what is the person going to do? And I love history, especially local history. Especially, you know, I worked at Lincoln Way for all those years. I mean, you know, when I started working in the community, you know, Route 30 was a 2-lane road, and there was still the gas station over by Phillips Chevy on the corner, and you know, and that intersection used to flood. And so, you know, I've kind of seen I haven't been here my entire life, but I've seen how the community's changed over the years, especially over the last 25 years or so. And being a part of kind of making sure the history gets preserved and honored is it's passion of mine. I really I'm excited about the move. I'm excited to see the kids play here.
Yeah.
Shane won't be here on the first day of school to see it, but being able to kind of leave this, have this project done, and have it in a better place. When I move on, it is gratifying to know that this will be something that the kids will enjoy in the future.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we have been a part of it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited to see the 4th and 5th graders next year when they come out. We had Joey Crawl, who's a 4th grade student who was superintendent for a day, and go around with his 4th grade classmates and engage them with basic footprint from our architect. And then he had a chance to meet with the architect, and we kind of described what we wanted. And that was a lot of fun. And now those 4th graders, when they come back next year as 5th graders, are going to get a chance to see the play area as they designed it, as they laid it out, which is just so cool. I think the fact that the kids are able to play in a space that they helped, push the direction of, that's just a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. Excited to see how this turns out in the next couple of months.
Yeah.
And thank you again.
Yeah, hopefully we're not disturbing too many people at the library with all the noise.
Sitting with Robin Madden, and we're talking about the Playscape at MES. And Robin was very involved in that. And you want to tell what your role was?
Sure. Well, actually, the whole playground was my idea. I had gone to visit my brother in New York, and they had just finished doing one of these wooden community-built playgrounds, and I fell in love with it and got the name of the company that they had gone through to build it, came back to Mokena, and went to the Park District and said, hey, can we do one of these? And the Park District said, no, we can't. It's a liability issue, being community-built. No. So I was involved with the PTA at the school at that time. So I brought it to Cindy Lindblom, who was the PTA president at the time, and said, is this something the PTA would want to do? And she turned to Lori Hermanson, who was a member of the PTA, and said, Lori, what do you think? Can we do this? And Lori said, absolutely. Cindy's like, okay, let's go.
It was a really interesting, one of the articles had, you're quoted, but you say all the different groups, community groups that were involved, and it was the Park District, the Lions Club, Burroughs Football, the Village Board, the Village Public Works Department, the Mokena Library, Fire District, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, the Board of Education from 159, Chamber of Commerce, all these. I mean, what a real community event. I mean, and
yes,
project.
It was. In the end, there's probably still out there now, although I'm not sure what they're going to do with it when they replace the Playscape. But there's a plaque out there. I think it was like 2,570 people or something like that volunteered their time to come out during the build.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it amazed me that whole project was done in 5 days.
The building was, yes.
Yeah, they started in Wednesday and then finished Sunday night with a dedication.
Yeah.
In that. Tell us a little bit about that. What were those days like for you?
Well, they were amazing because Cindy and Lori Hermanson and I had put in so much time for the playground ahead of time that we were told that we had no jobs during the actual construction except to enjoy it. So that's what we tried to do. They did. There were so many committees. There was a daycare committee so that people who had kids that needed to have somebody watch their kids while they built. There was a child care committee, and they had all kinds of activities for the kids all day long in the school. There was a food committee. They served 3 meals every day, and they got all the food donated from a lot of the groups that you mentioned would provide food for it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and the construction would start early in the morning. There would be generally three shifts.
Okay.
That they would do. They had us have plastic ready and available so that when it rained, and it did rain one of the days, they covered the whole playground with plastic, and everybody worked underneath the plastic so that nothing stopped
There's
while
some
that
neat
was
pictures
happening.
in here of that as well. Which, I mean, why was the push to get it done in that period of time? Was there?
That's what we contracted with Leathers and Associates, a company out of New York.
Okay.
And the whole process, they came out one day and sat in the lunchroom of MES and told all the kids what we were doing and told them to come up and talk to them and tell them any ideas that they wanted for the playground. And then while the kids were eating lunch, they were drawing up the plans.
So do you know like how many of the kids' actual ideas in that?
A lot of them.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The kids were all involved in it. So then they sketched it all, went back and put it all into their computer system. Then they generated all the materials lists that we needed, how many volunteers we would need, et cetera. And then we worked from there. So it had to be a 5-day build.
Yeah. And it was, you had to raise $100,000.
We did.
And in addition to materials, were there more materials as well? That was
part of it. Yes.
Okay.
And we also, now that I'm thinking about it, we had a tools committee because there were a lot of tools needed. So people would donate their tools for us to use. So the tool committee had to make sure everybody's tool was marked accurately and stored in a big tool trailer so that then as the people who were building needed tools, they could come and check out the tools to use.
Wow. And was that all organized by the company or did you guys?
That was all organized by us. Yeah. They told us how to do it, but our committees did all the work.
That's amazing.
And right before they came out and we built in Mokena, they did one in Manuka also.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have you been to that one?
We did go there a few times, yeah, right after it was built.
Okay. I wonder if that one's still standing out there.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It said the first pole was sunk on Wednesday. And as we said, there was a grand opening on Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And one of the articles said that there were periodic downpours on Thursday and into Friday. So as you guys were out there then pretty much the whole time, most of the time while it was going on, while the building was?
Yes.
And so how was a day like? I mean, people were coming knowing what they were assigned to do, or
well, there was a trailer that was set up. It was someone's RV that was set up as the volunteer area, and so when people would come in, they would check in at the volunteer desk and be given a job. You know, maybe there would be a crew of 10 people, and they would be assigned to construction captain. We had 5 construction captains on site and given a job to do. So then the construction captain would explain to them what they were doing and, then move on to another group. So, yeah, it was very, very well organized. Yeah. And then there were skilled volunteers versus unskilled volunteers. And a funny story, a good friend of mine who's a carpenter came and volunteered, and he went over to the volunteer table and said, "Hey, I cut myself. Can I get a Band-Aid?" So they gave him a Band-Aid, and there were 2 kinds of tags, one for skilled laborers and one for unskilled. And then they reached over and pulled off his skilled tag and put an unskilled one on there. You hurt yourself, now you're unskilled.
Now you're painting.
That's right.
How funny. When you guys were going around to the community, the different groups and that, you said initially the park district didn't want to take it on, but did you have any pushback from any groups? Was there?
No.
Everybody was
on board. Everybody was happy to help, whether it was donating for meals, whether it was donating money, whether it was like Joe Werner donating materials.
And how about site selection? How was that site was chosen?
By the school.
Okay. A couple other. It said it took 72 weeks of planning, organizing, and coordinating. Does that sound about right to you?
That sounds about right. Yeah, I would have said a year. That's a little more than a year. So, okay.
And it said they used 60 telephone poles were put in the ground. Mm-hmm. And the Playscape includes a 17-foot tower, 5 bridges, a dragon, mazes, swings, and slides. I've taken my son over there. I've run around on it with him. It's, unlike anything. I mean, I think the kids love that playground.
They do.
So now looking back, 27 years later, like how do you, how do you feel, about that park now? Like, what are the thoughts that you have?
Well, I brought my granddaughters to play there a couple times, which felt so good to me. It's one of my greatest accomplishments in my life, to be honest. I talk about it all the time. I remind people of it all the time. It breaks my heart to see it come down, but I understand why it has to.
Mm-hmm.
It's dangerous now. It really hasn't, unfortunately, been kept up to the standards that it was built. So its time is done. I mean, and we knew that. It was given a lifespan of 25 to 30 years, and that's what it is.
Amazing how that time can go by so fast, right?
Unbelievable.
But think about the thousands and thousands of kids that have played on that Playscape. I mean,
I know.
What an incredible, legacy. I mean, for you and for those that were involved. I mean, it's interesting even now how many people you still hear talk about. They took off work, for that. They were there for the build.
Now, do you know that we won an Illinois Governor's Hometown Award?
No.
For that? As you're coming into town, I assume it's still there. If you're going north on Wolf Road from 30, there's a sign that says Governor's Hometown Award.
Okay.
And that was from the playground.
Really?
Yeah. So Joe, Cindy, Lori, the mayor, we all went down to Springfield to accept the award. It was one of Mayor Joe's greatest accomplishments, too. He always still talked about it. And we talked about it one time if we could rebuild it, when it needed to be done. And it was just an overwhelming project for us. So,
yeah.
Well, Dr. Cohen contacted Leathers and had them come out and talk to him. I don't know if we've talked to him about that or not. And they said that they don't do many, if any, community-built playgrounds anymore. Just that whole community spirit has disappeared. And
they had, at that time, one of the articles, they had done, I think it was like a couple hundred of these.
Yes.
There was one article that from Sunday, June 8th, 97, and you're quoted there. It said, "We knew it would be huge, but I don't think we realized just how big it was going to be."
That is true. That is very true. And we did not know the community spirit that would come together to build it.
Yeah.
Everybody talked about it. Everybody was happy. It was wonderful for a few years after that.
Yeah. And you're also quoted there in saying, every time we stand out here and look at it, we cry.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that emotion's probably still real now.
Absolutely. When I brought my granddaughters out there to play, I could have stood there and cried watching them play on something that we had built. Yeah, and the kids that were playing on that Playscape when it was built now have brought their own kids to play on it, which is a nice way to go full circle on it.
For sure, yeah.
We had construction captains. Joe Werner was one of them. Cindy Lindblom's husband was one of them. Lori Hermanson's husband was one of them. I don't remember all of them, but they all had to commit to being there all day, every day during the build. And that made it a lot of fun for them.
Like that Sunday night, there was a dedication. Is that the Sunday night?
It is,
wow.
Yeah. They kept all the kids off of it from playing, and then we did the dedication and then opened it up to the kids, and they just went crazy playing on it.
You just see the tents, and the all the trucks and equipment out there, and it must have just felt like a beehive.
It did. And then all of a sudden, it was done, and everybody disappeared. The interesting part is that we had a lot of skilled tradesmen working there. And so there was a big pile of wood scraps. Someone would cut a piece of wood and the scraps would go in there. Our guys were so trained that they took the wood from the pile to use instead of taking clean whole pieces of wood. So when it was all said and done, we had a ton of wood left over.
Wow.
Because of that. We had the kids come up with different names for it. And one of the names, they came up with names, then they voted on the names. There was actually a children's committee. And so one of the names they came up with was Mokena's Pleasure Palace. And we just kind of casually shuffled that name aside. Pam Schoenweiss, I don't know if that name is familiar to you. She was in charge of the food committee. And so they had all the food, and it wasn't like every day pizza. There was different food at every meal.
Now, it looks like there was something at the park.
Yeah, that was a fundraiser.
Okay.
And we had the dunk tank, and we also had cow pie bingo, where a certain area was, broken down into segments, and each one was marked.
Oh, I saw.
And then
there's a cow walking around.
Yeah. And then the cow walked around, and wherever there was a cow pie, if you had that block, you would win.
That's awesome.
Yep. Actually, if I had to make a guess, I think Cindy Lindblom took a lot of these pictures and handed them off to me. And then I handed them off to Dr. Cohen, because I was looking through my house and I was like, well, we've moved. I don't remember what I did with these pictures, but now I know. And I'm glad they're in good hands. So
you had your kids at the time were at MES? They
were 7 and 8 years old, I think. And every once in a while, my husband would not sneak into the school, but he would go into the school and pull my daughter's or my son's classroom out and take them over to a window that would overlook the construction and explain to them everything that was going on and why it was going on. So that was fun. It made it a little more special for my kids because they put up with a lot. For a year, either my husband and I were out every night at committee meetings, gathering materials, getting volunteers. Yeah. There was a picnic table out there that some volunteers made after construction and installed so that families had a place to go out and sit and have lunch. There was a stage. It was always the hope that the school could use it to put on plays or whatever for the classes.
Yeah. Like what would you want people to remember? The process, the Playscape itself, everything that you went through to get it done. What do you want people to remember?
I would hope people would remember how the community came together over those 5 days. I mean, it was a much longer process, but over the 5 days, everybody came together and built something for our kids.
Yeah. And why do you think it was such a community? Why did people grab onto it and really embrace that project so much?
Because at that point, people were looking for things to get involved in and were interested in things for the kids of the community. Not that they're not still interested, but I don't think we would, if we tried, I don't think we would get the community support again. It's a different world now, 30 years later.
It's almost like that was nearing the end of an era of real community. Mm-hmm. All these organizations and groups that a lot of them are still around today, but you just kind of have a different sense. You might live here, but you're not involved in the community as much as maybe in the past.
Right.
We were.
Right. And I've heard of some of the community groups, the school groups, the music boosters, band boosters, athletic boosters, things like that. They just don't get the volunteers that we got when we were involved in those.
Kind of in the best times of a village or a town or an area is when you have that active community, because you are dealing with your neighbors and you get to know the people around you, and the teachers and the all the people like that, where now kind of our circles expand so much that you're not as reliant on you might not be a member of a community organization or see the importance of that like I have in the past.
Yeah, and that's really sad. I mean, Kim Cosgrove, who was the head of the volunteers committee, we had signs printed up, and she had those signs all over town about Mokena's Imagination Station and how to contact her to volunteer. Wow. And we had tons and tons of volunteers. It was amazing. No, I was very excited that Dr. Cohen invited me to the grand opening of the new playground that's
nice.
up there. So I got to go to that, which was fun. It actually made my heart strong, warm to see the kids playing on it. They had a great time. Nice. And I told them when the Playscape is going to come down, I want to be out there.
Yeah.
Watch it come down.
Yeah.
And also out there is buried a time capsule. I told Dr. Cohen about it. I don't know if he's pulled it out or not yet.
No, I think he said once construction happens, they'll pull it out.
Okay.
So were you there when it was buried?
Yes. Yes. And the kids committee chose things to go in it. And I don't remember what's in it. It'll be interesting.
Did you put anything in there? Was anything you specifically? No.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But it was made out of PVC pipe. So I hope that it has maintained against all of the water, or so that there'll be stuff in there when.
Well, that's
when we
smart, because St. John's did their opening, I think, 2 years ago or so, and they found their box, and they had some issues getting it open because it had rusted, and they used a metal box.
Yeah.
So that was very smart of them to use PVC.
Yeah, yeah, and there's now Dr. Cohen knows. I think there's only 3 people who know where it's at.
Oh wow!
Because it was put in when nobody was paying attention because they didn't want any of the kids to know and be able to dig it up. So.
Yeah, sure. Well, Robin, thank you very much for coming and talking to me today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks again, Robin. And thank you so much for putting this beautiful playscape on Mokena for the last 27 years.
Yep.
I hope its memory lives on for a long time after.
Thank you.
Thanks,
me too.
Robin. Wow.
Well, head to the cafeteria. This thing was quite the cylinder. I was expecting like a box.
A box, yeah.
They did this right.
He's carrying power tools.
How else do you open up
I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't think this is going to come
I'm
up.
Rachel Chorley. I'm the principal here.
Oh, hi, Robin Madden.
Oh, Robin, nice to meet you. Hi.
I'm Cindy.
Oh, nice to meet you.
You can kind of hear the.
Heard from you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure if you remember what's in there or not.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely no recollection.
So I'm just going to try and score the outside of it a little bit, and then safety glass. Are you kidding me? That was loud. All right.
We need a drum roll?
Oh, they were smart. They sealed it. Oh. Is that it? T-shirts. Put a T-shirt in.
Well, they sealed it well. Let me see if I have a car key or something to poke it.
Do you want me to grab you scissors?
Let's see if I can. There we go. Say to start it. I was hoping there was something good in there. I didn't want it to be like that Geraldo where they went into Al Capone's vault. You know?
Well, just wait. I don't know, it may not be all that exciting.
Oh, looks like the plans might be there.
It's exciting, no.
Oh, the plans would be cool.
Oh, the T-shirt. Oh, it fits you so well.
Right?
Look at that seam stain.
Wow.
And they will play.
We can lay this stuff out.
Isn't that great?
Cute.
So I do have the plans. Oh, you do? I do, or I did. I think I still do. But I had to trade my sweatshirt like this.
All right, so here's a list of the time capsule items. Following is a list of what each grade voted on to put in the time capsule. We hope these items and information will help you know what we were all about in 1997. Kindergarten, a 1996 penny and a 1997 postage stamp. Kindergarten, a 1996 nickel and our 1996-97 school yearbook. Second grade, 1996 dime and a 1996-97 MES yearbook. Third grade pre-construction site picture and a Playscape t-shirt. Fourth grade, 1996 quarter and a picture from our float in the 1996 Mokena Christmas Parade. Fifth grade, copies of projects done in Miss Teague's class, a map of Mokena, pictures of buildings in Mokena, and current price list. Junior high, a list of current trends and junior high accomplishments throughout the year. So this is the Mokena street map from the 90s. I'm sure there's probably a number of streets that aren't here.
Yeah, my street won't be on there.
That's funny. That's right.
Outside of the color, the stairwell hasn't changed very much. Here you guys, I'll let you guys take a look. And here are the coins. The Parent Student Handbook from 1970. As I was wrapping it up today. Right? Go back in time. Materials lists from the Playscape. So this is the.
That's the materials list.
Yep. Machine butts, washers, the whole thing. I'll let you guys. The Mokena PTA Playscape Fund. So these were all of the fundraisers and donations. This is cool. This is really cool. A list of current prices: gallon gas $1.29, gallon of milk $1.99, can of pop 65 cents, movie ticket $6, school hot lunch was $1.45.
What is it now?
$3.60 now?
Yeah, the entertainment building. Yeah, they carried it.
Mokena Junior High had 650 students, but that was just 2 grades. Mokena Elementary had 1,322 students in it, in this building. Wow. This is neat. You guys should take a look at some of this. This is some of the drawings.
This stuff and put it in the display case.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
She had some pictures of the new one going up and
Well, here's the Construction Week agenda. Friday, the trailer arrives, phone line put in. Saturday, May 31st, RV trailer delivered, tool trailer, shelving put up, fencing up. Sunday was setup of tents and tool drop off. Well, and this is the article, it must have been printed right before it was this whole, Thursday, May 29th, right before the project was done, and then you sealed it up and put it away.
Yeah? Oh, yeah, it was
yeah, it was right away.
That's so cool.
And it was when no one was paying attention, so none of the kids would know where it was at, so they could figure it out.
That was from the Playscape, yes. So the kids,
Those were kids' notes wrote on it. I think it was at that last play day.
yeah.
You don't still have the tiles, do you?
Yes, so all of the pavers, you mean?
No.
The tiles from that half wall?
Yeah.
So when I started, I have 3 of them left.
This is very sweet.
So I know the half wall had been knocked down some way somehow, and I'm not sure how many of them were recoverable. Maybe they gave some away, but I have 3 in the closet.
Okay.
Did you save the,
All the patio bricks? Yes. And we had them cataloged, so I know I've already had some requests for people to come and pick them up, some families and whatnot, but we want to make sure we had a complete record of all the donors, but it looks like there's one in there already, so that's fantastic too.
Mr. Kathy's asking her about Danny. I think he might be.
Yeah, Mrs. Erickson. I said, Mrs. Look at Mrs. Erickson.
So let me ask you while you guys are here, what memories kind of come up that you forgot about since the structure went up?
And her teacher, because we both had teacher
I forgot
books.
how many things we did to raise money for it. Remember working
I was not
at
a
World
teacher.
Music Theater?
Oh, yeah.
Or did you not do that?
I thought I went out there and did it, but I don't know if it was for this.
Look at these little cuties.
Remember any of them? Yeah.
So you worked the concession stands? Or
Yeah, and we figured at the end of the day, if we had gone somewhere and worked for minimum wage, we would have made more money.
I don't know what posters. I took off until January. Shop was.
So I think this is Brian.
Didn't we sell T-shirts?
For us girls.
We had to have sold those T-shirts, but they're not on here.
Yeah. This old-fashioned fun day at the park was that was kind of a kickoff.
It was.
Because it was right at the beginning of the school year. And it was out of Main Park. And
She was Mootry.
we had hot dogs out there.
That's
And
when she
we
went back to her main name.
actually Southwest Airlines gave us a free 1 ticket or 2 tickets?
2 tickets to anywhere.
Tickets to anywhere, which was pretty amazing. And then Linda Momberg, who is here in town, her
Isn't it Rita
was,
Oh my gosh.
is it?
Is that Rita?
Cowpipe bingo.
Oh, okay. I saw some pictures of that.
Yeah, cowpipe bingo. So we had that. So we had a little calf in there.
did you do?
He was in there. We had a dunk tank. We had just
Always good to have
all
friends.
little kind of races and stuff. That was my favorite.
Now you say that.
A lot of her throwaway books. Oh, and there's.
You and Lori went to some kind of
We did.
convention or
We
something.
went to the PTA convention.
Oh, okay.
And they, of course, they have all the vendors there. And we had already talked about doing this, the three of us had talked about doing it. She got engaged. Robin was
The instigator.
yeah, pretty much. She knew a little bit more about the process. I had been to the one in Valparaiso. They had done one in Valparaiso. My mom was living there at the time and been out there, and I thought, wow, that is really cool. And she had told me about it. Well, Robin knew more about it, and we were all
Joyce Siska. They have to be Joyce Siska.
we just have to do this. We need to raise some big bucks. So then Lori and I went to the PTA thing, and entertainment folks talked to us and pretty much promised us that we could make a certain amount of money, and we thought about it and worked on it, and we said, yeah, okay.
Those entertainment books, like they started out hot and everybody wanted them. Now you can't find them anymore. They died off. So.
Any idea how much that raised?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, 32,000.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I was thinking 30,000 for some reason.
Yeah, the only thing that brought us in
amazing.
more money was just getting business and community donations.
So Rob and I got to talk a little bit, but tell me a little bit about your experience during the build. What was going on? What your memories are of it?
It was a really, really busy week. It was a really emotional week. Lots of up and downs. Lots of surprises.
I cried a lot.
I did too. That's when he first said that. That's exactly what I thought. I cried a lot.
Yeah. Because you know
Like
what?
frustration
It was our
or-
baby.
Everything.
It was our project.
It was.
And all of a sudden there were 2,000 other people who came in and were taking it to be their project, and it just was very emotional for me. I didn't want to give it up.
Oh, no. I was amazed at the generosity of everybody and the commitment of everybody as well. People that you would never have expected it from were there and working so hard. And that was one of my wonderful surprises.
It is amazing because so many people talk in town, either posting online or people you talk to, you just hear about the little part they played or the thing they got to do. And even I talked to the fire chief Howard Stevens and how he talked about what the role the fire department played and putting in all the poles and.
That was a big day.
Yeah.
It was.
That was a big day. The cement day or concrete day and the pole day was huge. But the guy who delivered the concrete said that was the most organized thing he had ever seen.
Wow.
Ever. But they would line up, oh my gosh, how many were there? 20 or 30 wheelbarrows?
Firemen or
Wheelbarrows for the
at least
20, and they were just lined up one by one all over they'd go, they'd grab their load, and they'd come right back around, and they'd dump it, and
Wow.
it was amazing. And then see the firemen, that was special in many ways.
Yeah. And Cindy, you've lived here, and Robin, up to recently you did too, but talk about since that time, the memories you've had with, children, grandchildren that played on it, anything like that?
Yeah, three of my grandchildren are here in town, and they've played on it. And they are so excited to be here and to play on that playground that, Grandma built. And so, yeah, that was really fun.
And so now, like, obviously right now it's come down, and when you found out about that, talk a little bit about how you felt about that and what that means to you or meant to you.
It's really too bad because it was such an amazing project and brought this whole community together. And I just feel like that has always been a memorial, basically, to that time. And it was at a time when the village wasn't real cohesive at all. And that was one of our motivators as well, that this village needs to know what it means to come together and to do something. And it was just such a good group. I don't remember any, we all got along.
Oh, yeah.
There just was never any strife.
Wow, that's awesome.
At all. Everybody just did what they had to do and made sure it got done. And it's a great
The guys from Leathers told us that because we had so many professional men, like professional carpenters and stuff working there, we had tons of materials left over because they were smart enough to go, they would go through the wood pile and grab pieces of leftover wood and use it instead of cutting into new pieces for each time.
Okay.
And that made a big difference.
There were. That was one of the biggest surprises, is to have these people just come up out of the woodwork and say, like, being able to trim off the big beams at an angle. There was a guy who cut down trees for a living. Because I could do this. And it was done.
Amazing.
Yeah, that electricians, the night.
Remember when we broke the pipe? And Joe Werner fixed it within minutes.
Yep. While you weren't in our and then we got to ride back
thank you to Dr. Cohen because that was
he let us do that. It was fun. There was a day that it rained or a night. I remember working late into the night and it was raining, and lights just appeared. There was
because it was on our list of things that we needed. So they covered the whole thing in heavy gauge plastic and brought lights in and put it up so everyone could still work in the rain.
Because you still had to, you had to make deadlines.
It was a 5-day build. That was it. Then they were gone. So.
And then, so whoever needed to do it, did it. I can do that. Yeah, just give me a few minutes. And I think there was something wrong with the lights at one point. And Joey came out and fixed it.
Yeah.
Got the thing done. And so those are the kinds of things that you would never, ever dream of happening. That just warmed your heart.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good. Any other memories or things you want to add?
Bud took the week off work.
Did he really?
Yeah, to be a construction.
Do you remember what his kind of role? What was he doing?
Oh yeah, he was a construction captain, which meant the Leathers people would tell. They had these captains, and they said, "This is what you're going to be doing today. You need to." This is what your volunteers are going to be doing today.
Wow.
You need to just watch them and do that.
Yeah.
So he did that. And
I think there were 5?
Something like that. Yeah.
5 guys.
Probably 5.
Probably here most all the time then, I think.
Oh, Brenda, that's right.
Yeah.
Forgot about her. Yeah. Well, she was a construction worker. Joe Werner was one of our construction captains. Lori Hermanson's husband.
Yes. Then we had, you had to provide security.
Oh, sure.
During the night. So my neighbors had 4 boys, high school boys. So they would, a couple nights they came up and we had a trailer there and they'd sit in the trailer and
that I don't remember.
I did one because and so they had to sit in the overnight. They thought that was fun. So we had to get people to watch because we had this trailer full of tools that were. Oh, and then the guy who came just showed up to repair tools.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
Yeah.
Brought all his stuff out there, and he just sat there for all 5 days and just. It was like this. That's the kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. And then everybody who donated food. I mean, 'cause you had to feed these people twice a day.
That's what, with the pictures, it was so impressive to see, food tents and was there childcare and all this.
Yeah, and childcare.
Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Luthers had it down to a science. They gave us a book, and this is what you need to supply.
Wow.
And it was overwhelming at first.
It was,
Yeah.
but it got. So the three of us. So there were all different committees. So I think we just took charge of 2 or 3 committees, each of us, which also helped because we all said, I don't know how one person could have done this by any means.
Yeah.
So we were in charge of 2 or 3 committees, and then we worked with them to make sure everything was getting done in a timely fashion.
It's funny, as for me, as you get older, things get scarier to you. Like for me, driving up from my house alone, I don't know, for some reason makes me nervous. I can't picture myself now being able to take on that whole project again.
Yeah.
That was one. That was
A huge learning lesson, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
Absolutely.
it was. Good time. I mean, the wood down in the ground and stuff, of course, that's going to deteriorate.
Right.
So you can only do so much. And that's what they said, 25, 30 years, so that's how long it lasted.
Yeah, so I guess, but you just don't think that time's ever going to come.
No.
Right? Sure. And you just...
So many people, that's all they knew their whole life was that, you never know in any other different place. So, it's tough.
My next door neighbor came over to me one day. He goes, all of a sudden, all these signs popped up all over town saying something about Mokena's immigration station. And he said, I couldn't figure out what they were. He said, finally I stopped to look at one and realized it was Imagination Station, not immigration.
Well, this was really cool to be a part of the opening here, and I thank you both for talking to me some about this. I think it'll be a great way to kind of memorialize this for a long time to come, and the awesome effort that was put in here. So, just neat to see, and I love the fact of, whether it was the design there that the kids were brought into it or what went into even this, each of those kids kind of had a part in that, and it's neat to see them now, all these years later, recognizing that too.
It was definitely an amazing program that this company had put together. It's too bad they can't. When they came, a couple, 2-3 years ago, he said, you just can't do it anymore. You don't have the volunteer hours, which is heartbreaking because it is such a rewarding experience. For years, I said, if you ever hear one of these going up, you need to go. Just go volunteer. You will never experience anything like that again in your life.
Tell me a little bit first about what you remember, about that community event, and then kind of share too what the fire department's role was in that.
It was a pretty neat event. It was 100% a community event. You had a Lions Club there. You had the fire department there. Any organization that had anything to do with the village was there, in some shape or form. They had a shift, or they had a specific duty to do, or whatever. And as far as the fire department's concerned, we volunteered our time to go there. There was quite a few of us, and we got we were assigned the job to. If you look at the Playscape today, in basically all the corners there are telephone posts, and our job was to carry the telephone posts. And the holes were all dug. We had to avoid falling in the holes. And put these telephone posts in the holes, stand them up, and then somebody came along with a tractor and filled the holes, and they leveled it up and all that. But our job was somebody cut them the length. We didn't have to measure anything. We didn't have to figure anything out. Someone said, this pole right here is going into hole number 8 over there.
Wow.
And so depending on how big or small the telephone pole was, that dictated how many people were on the pole. So we were basically the mules to move these telephone poles. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
How many days was that? One day?
For us, you mean?
For your pole? Yeah, doing the.
I think it was a couple days, but I can't. You know what? I can't really remember.
Probably felt like a lot longer.
I'm sure it felt like forever.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking maybe it was like a weekend, but I really can't rightly remember. But that was our job. We were the mules to move the telephone poles or anything else that seemed to be heavy.
Yeah. What else? Anything else you remember? You remember I know there was they did a grand opening at the end of it, and all the kids came on. I don't know if you were around for that or any other parts of it.
Yeah. We went to the grand opening and things like that, and it was fabulous. The biggest thing was really it 100% it was a community event. So the organizers of the Playscape did a wonderful job of getting community buy-in, getting community participation, and obviously now it's lived its life cycle and it needs to move on to something else. But at that time, the organizers really did they did a fabulous job of getting the community to be involved with that thing.
Yeah,
it was really nice.
Judy Bashansky, thank you for talking to me. You reached out to me because you were one of the volunteers back when the Imagination Station was built. And how did that happen? How did you end up volunteering to work when the Playscape was being built?
So I have two young daughters that were not old enough to participate in the build, but they were going to Mokena Elementary School at that time. And so we were very involved in the community and had heard about the project. And I thought, oh my goodness, it would be so cool to participate in that, to help build it, and to always have that memory for the kids. So I remember the kids who were too young to build were in the school, and they were working with other volunteers to make construction paper chains. So they spent the time while we were outside building, the kids were inside making these paper chains. And I remember when they had the grand opening, they put the chains kind of all over these bright colored construction paper chains that were draped all over the work that we had done to build the Playscape. And it was so cool to know that was the kids' contribution to it, and it made it just as special. So we were there every day. It was like nothing I'd ever experienced since. We all brought our own tools and labeled them so we could get them back in the end, and all were kind of assigned different sections or different areas to build. And it was magnificent. It was a fabulous memory. The one thing I think, there are two memories that I have, is the big, really wide slide is a dragon slide. And I remember I got to paint the flames on the side of that dragon slide. So every time we'd see it, I'm like, I painted the flames coming out of the dragon's mouth. And the other thing was, at the very top, there was a Hershey's Kiss painted silver with a red pull tab, like Hershey's has a little pull tab to open the Kiss. And so nobody else wanted to go up there, so I climbed up on a ladder with my paint, and it was the finishing touch. I got to paint the red tab on the Hershey's Kiss at the very top of the Playscape. So that's just a really special memory.
Yeah, that's one of the things I've seen with the pictures. Is I didn't see it at that time, so I didn't know there were all these different attributes to it, like the silver painted Kiss and the thing on top of that. But looking back now to see the pictures, it's so cool, the detail that went into that, including, like you said, these younger kids that couldn't be part of the build actually being brought in and incorporated for some of that decoration. That is really cool. Any other memories you have from during the build? How many days? Do you remember how many days you were there?
That's a good question. I was trying to remember. It was, 3 or 4 days, probably, something like that.
Okay.
It was multiple. We were there kind of every day of the build, to whatever extent we could be, and continued the project. So probably 3 or 4 days, I think.
Yeah. And what was that final, what do you remember the grand opening?
Yeah, the thing that was most amazing to me about that was standing back and watching like all the kids in the community using all the things that we had spent all this time building, swinging on the swings and kind of shrieking as they go down the slide. And anyway, it was really special. And probably the thing that was most touching was the construction paper chains that were all over the place, just knowing that was the kids' contribution that, weren't old enough to use tools yet. But it was just such a great time, a great memory, something I will always, always remember. Any opportunity we had to, have a nice day where we wanted to take the kids out and get them tired so they would sleep well, or get together with other friends of ours that had kids of similar ages, we would go, to Playscape and let the kids run around. And I'm certain that they used it for recess the whole time that they were in school, that they, had opportunities to use it as part of their, everyday experience when they were in school there.
Well, it's a really cool thing to look back on now and see all that went into it, and the number of people, so many people have had similar stories of getting involved, and just how much pride they felt in that. And I can imagine all the adults standing back on that grand opening and watching these kids play, just gleaming ear to ear. It must have been an amazing experience.
Yeah, I would drive past there years later, and I go, wait, I got to show you something. And I would drive over, I'm like, see that playground? We built, the community built that. Like, it wasn't we hired a company. Like, we all, hammers and nails and saws, like, we built that. And I was so proud to drive anybody who was in from out of town. I would drive them over to see the Playscape because I was so proud. It was a